Hey, what's up? This disciple Marshall Occurrence rain back up in this anti-Illuminati all day, anti-America all day, anti-witchcraft all day, anti-gang stalker all day. So anti-Freemason all day too. So this message is going to be about uh, you can't be American breaking constitutional rights of other Americans. You cannot claim to be American breaking the constitutional rights of Americans. You should have knew this was coming from a man like me. You should have knew I was gonna talk about these principles and laws and honor codes that we have. Yeah, this is you broke an honor code. I have not broke an honor code. Yeah, you thought I was a traitor. How I'm a traitor when I never held alliance with America? I gotta do a video on that. How are you a traitor when you never held alliance? Yeah, I've never held alliance. So how can you call me a traitor? In order for me to be a traitor, I would have to first have had oaths and alliances, and I those are alliances and oaths that I do not have. Ow. Oh whoa. Okay, now let's move on. So now that you see I'm not I couldn't even be considered a traitor because by the time I became a man, I really didn't hold America in esteem as an alliance because I was a Christian, which I seen all the sin, seen all the things they were doing, and I had no alliance in my heart as a young man. But boom, ow. But whoa. So because of my walk with God, I never really have alliance. I never really never had alliance with you. That's a 7 ow. But you did have alliance with America. So let me show you something. How can you have alliance with America and you not be a traitor based on you breaking the constitutional rights of Americans? It's no justification because your only frail little pathetic principle or perspective is desperate time, desperate measures. How much you want to bet they saying that? I bet you $1 million that's their perspective in so many ways. And I will win that $1 million, I guarantee you. Because at some point you're gonna realize you're breaking constitutional rights, you're breaking rights of American citizens, and the only way you can continue to go on is if your justification is desperate times, desperate measures. But guess what? The forefathers of this country did not allow wiggle room for to break constitutional rights based on desperate times and desperate measures. I don't see no justification there in the Constitution for breaking constitutional rights. There is no fine print, bro. There is no fine print. So you're illegal, okay? You're criminals. You're thugs. You have people under illegal surveillance and you think you're serving your country and there's no forefather who would defend you serving your country by means of illegal surveillance, which with no evidence of any tangible operations in my case, which would be breaking constitutional rights of an American citizen, which they would never support. So you would never have the good-hearted Americans on your side. You would never have them on your side. There's no good-hearted Americans that would say putting someone under legal surveillance with no tangible operations, just you all you got is hearsay, walking around playing games with hearsay, putting people under illegal surveillance, trying to get some type of street justice off of something you heard, but didn't have real definitions of what you heard, no good-hearted American is going to support that. So guess what we got here? People riding around, walking around, talking about their Americans. You are not Americans. You do not have the luxury of calling yourself American and walking around breaking constitutional rights. Okay? You don't have that luxury. You break constitutional rights, call yourself American. Imagine that. So for young people, let me help you understand something. For anybody that's in their early 20s and in their late 30s, let me help you understand something. What defines an American is the constitutional rights. That's what defines us, because all of us are not living on the same level. You got poor Americans, middle class Americans, and rich Americans. That's what you have here. So if someone was foreign that talked to you and asked you, what makes an American? What defines an American? You couldn't say money for everybody. And you couldn't say poverty for everybody. So you couldn't go off of financial status. You couldn't. So that wouldn't define the American. Freedom. Oh, the freedoms you have. Okay, well, if you're black sometimes here in America, you know where I'm going with this. If you're black sometimes here in America, you could get stopped by the police and killed. You could get pulled over if you're not killed and stereotyped and harassed and even sexually harassed, frisked to the point that it's sexual harassment. So you couldn't say by ethnicity, you couldn't say freedom, because freedom is redefined and is at different gauges on the pie graph when we talk about freedom. So in essence, freedom is not the same thing for white people that it is for black people. It's not the same thing. So you can't say freedoms, can you? Not bona fide, not in a matter of fact type of way. You couldn't say freedom. What defines an American is freedom in a matter of fact type of way for every ethnicity of American citizens, could you? So that doesn't necessarily define all Americans. Now do it. Well, if you're getting shot down, what's the need of pointing out the protection that National Guard and military give you? What's the need to point out the police protection and military protection and the government protection when your community is subject to being shot down at any given time? So that's a freedom we really don't have, or a freedom that could be taken away from us at the drop of a hat, at the drop of a cop hat. At the drop of a cop hat, all those freedoms that they harp on all the time, that these military harp on all the time, comparing us to different countries, saying you don't know the freedoms that you have here. Well, in being black, at the drop of an American cop's hat, somebody here can be killed by a cop. So how can you hold on to something that is very fleeting in this form and fashion? Freedom is very fleeting to black people here in America. So That doesn't define African Americans. Freedom here defined, that's definitions for white Americans. Sorry to tell you that. That's a 7th hour. So you couldn't use freedom for all the American community as what defines us. You couldn't use money because everybody don't have it. So at this point, the foreigner, wherever the foreigner may come from, is scratching their heads. Okay, so what defines an American? It is the constitutional rights. And even with that being said, many people will say black people don't even get all the constitutional rights. Now, do they? But that foundationally is what defines us as Americans. So you see where I'm going with this, right? If you break constitutional rights, which is what defines Americans, how can you call yourself American and you're violating what defines us as Americans? Good-hearted Americans will rather die than to violate what defines us. That's 7th owl. They would rather die than violate what defines an American. So, in short, you can't be considered an American running around here breaking constitutional rights. See, what your term for you is incompetence and inadequacy. Okay? And you can't have the luxury of being inadequate and by breaking people's constitutional rights and still have the luxury of saying you're American. You either uphold what defines us or disband from this and become something else. That's what you've already done. You've become something else. You know what you've become? It's what I call strange America. I've been redefined you years ago. I came up with that term years ago for you, just for you. For you constitutional violating right breakers of Americans. You're a strange America. You're no longer America. I'm more of a patriot than you are. You know why? Because I can clearly tell you what it is to be American. I can show you exactly what it is that defines an American. You can't, can you? Well, if you knew it, then why you violating the constitutional rights, the things that define us, if you knew it and you call yourself an American? So some would say, by most honorable standards, most men would esteem me as more American than you. And you got all the paraphernalia, you got all the flags, you got all the Trump hats, the MAGA hats, Make America Great Again t-shirts. You got the Obama t-shirts, you got those too. You go to some of these American houses, they got both of them. They got the MAGA hats, they got the Make America Great Again shirts, and they got the Obama hats and Obama shirts. But here's the problem. Here's the big old problem. You can't break constitutional rights under the perspective of desperate times, desperate measures. You can't do it. And see what separates you from the forefathers that made the constitutions, the constitutional rights, is adequacy and inadequacy. Because the American forefathers would have either been competent enough to do their jobs, or they would have rather died than to break the constitutional rights of Americans. The good ones. The good ones. I can't say everybody. Because there's histories of breaking constitutional rights. Right up in here. But the honorable, the ones that stick by the real honor codes, would not break the principles. And here's why. It lowers the standard of our rights here in America. It lowers the standard, and then anything goes after that. Anything goes after that. And you know what the bad part is about lowering the standard? You can't go back. I know you think you can, but once you lower the standard of breaking constitutional rights, then people are always going to hold you to that place and time. Well, all you can say is, well, you shouldn't do that. That's all you can say. Meanwhile, they're going to hold you to doing it. They're going to say, well, y'all broke constitutional rights of people. So when I do it in my place and time, how can you really chastise me? You broke constitutional rights. Okay, so I'm doing it in my time. You did it in your time. I'm doing it in mine. And it goes on and on and on. And now the standard is lowered. And now the Constitution really doesn't work for anyone. See, what happens is when you lower the standard and you break the constitutional rights for the community, now it's not acknowledged. Now it's invalid. Now the rights that we once had that defines us as American is no longer valid. And we're just another country, just as violent and crazy as anywhere else. That's what you did. And that's what you did. That's the games you played. And you have Freemasons to thank. You have the Freemasons to thank. You have other secret societies and military and police to thank. That's who you have to thank. Go ahead and thank them. Go ahead and thank them. Go ahead and thank them. You cannot have your cake and eat it too. If you break the constitutional rights of Americans, you are no longer American. I don't care about what you say about desperate times and desperate measures. Let me help you with something. At the point where you feel, because I'm not in the desperate time. So it's not everybody, it's you. Okay? First of all. When you're feeling in a desperate time, probably caused by your own actions in the first place, you got to look at that part too, Al. That's a 7 Al. Actions that you caused, a state that you caused on yourself, a state that you put yourself in based on your actions that you did, actions that you did in the first place. Okay, here's the thing. You have two decisions. You either, at these desperate times, you're either going to realize you're dealing with something that you can't control or beat, and you stay in the position to do what you can legally as American authority, you got three decisions. You can die rather and by the evil that will come upon you, and you decide to not break constitutional rights. You can die honorable, or you can break constitutional rights and deny your American citizenship. So you see what has successfully been done? I don't care where they come from. If they have breaking constitutional rights of Americans, they're no longer American. I strip them of their American citizenship. You can no longer be considered American. And guess what that means, folks? We have a right to do whatever we want to do with them. Hey, that's my redneck moment right there. We have the right to do what we want to do with them. They're not American. They broke constitutional rights. I'm serious. They broke constitutional rights. The rights that define us, and you still calling them Americans. We have the right to do whatever we want to do with them. Well, they're not Americans, and here they are. That's how. Look, man. That's how. Listen, man. The moral of the story is, you can't play with fire and not get burned. Okay? You play with fire, it burns every time. Not half the time. Fire doesn't burn half the time. Fire doesn't burn 70% of the time, 60% of the time. Fire burns 100% of the times. And now you are aware of this. Okay? You can't go backwards. You thought, listen, it was all fueled by, in the beginning, it was all fueled by dumb fraternity like alpha male narcissistic foolishness. That's what it all was fueled by, in ignorance. And you can redefine this situation, but the origins tells us everything we need to know. The origins means everything, because once I take off, hey, you can't you can't define what I'm doing. I took off based on the origins. I went to war based on the origins. Now that it's happening to you, you can try to put all these you can try to redefine my motives and redefine what I'm doing, but it's all based on the initial situation. Now, isn't it? Well, you think you're fooling. So all you're doing is trying to redefine this whole situation. Getting down to the origins also tells us who's the problem. Well, if you find out that they're initiating problems and playing with people for fun and sport, then eliminating them is getting rid of the problem. Trying to play with me, and I was an innocent person minding my business, it's not getting rid of the problem. Now, is it? So here we are again at another crossroads. People who solve problems, people who want to play games and be entertained from something they seen off TV, like a little kid or something. Because I know it's influenced by TV. Well, if people influenced by rap music, I know they're influenced by movies. Yeah, you're influenced by some little stupid movie you seen on TV. And we're going to get all of that out of your head by the time we done. We're going to get all that out of your head by the time you're done. We done. Listen, bro. Listen. I don't care nothing about that imagery foolishness that you're doing. All you prove more and more is that the games that you're playing it makes you non-American. You're no longer American. And no forefather would defend you. I'm going with the forefathers. I don't care about the people here now. I'm going with the forefathers. They would not have defended you. They would have said that you are not the nature and the character of this country, which means you will be stripped of your American nature and character, which would make you what? Non-American. You listen, I can't stress this enough. You don't have the luxury of going around talking about desperate times, desperate measures. Like that's going to hold up when it comes to breaking people's constitutional rights. That's not going to hold up. Your desperate times, hear this part, is one place in time. We're talking about the Constitution, what that's supposed to cover all places in time. Your little rinky-dink, pathetic place in time is not going to be, listen, it's not going to be upheld above all places in time that the Constitution is supposed to cover. So unfortunately, this is just the end of the road for you. Now you see what I'm saying? And the Constitution goes on. It's the end for you, and the Constitution is upheld, and it goes on. Again, it's the end for you. You don't have the right to break anybody's contract. See where I'm going with this? It's just your time to die. Don't you see that? It's just your time to die, and you're saying you're still American, and you're gonna do this, and you're gonna do this way, and you're desperate in these desperate times. Some stuff you've seen off some stuff on TV, and it's simply just your time to go, bro. That's all it is. And you sitting up acting like you're American, and you're not. And I showed you how you're not. Talking about desperate times, desperate measures, running around here breaking constitutional rights. And in actuality, it's a sign when you're not able to handle what's happening to you that it's time to die. That's the seventh hour. It's just time to die. And what you're doing is spinning your wheels, and it's time to die here in America. You're spinning your wheels when it's time to die here in America, violating people's rights, desperate. You're desperate because it's time to die. Let's define your desperate time and desperate measures. The desperate times you're in and what you're feeling, let me help you understand something. As a spiritual advisor or a seasoned spiritual warrior, it's just time for you to die. You've done too much. And you're fighting the feeling. You're fighting the feelings of death. That's all it is. It's time. God is telling you it's time to go. It's time to go. Look at the writing is on the wall. It's time to go. And you've never experienced this quite like you have. Just like you've never played these games quite like you have you? So if you've played these games on a quite different level, don't you think your destruction is going to be on a quite different level too? Don't you think your defeat is going to be on a quite different level when you've been playing quite different games in your community? And that's all it is. It's just time for you to suffer for it. And you talking about desperate times, and you know what time it is? Time for you to suffer. That's your desperate time. Time to suffer and time to die. And you've defined it as a desperate time, and really it's time to die and suffer. So if you would be an honorable person, realizing your defeat is on the horizon, you would die like you should and stop putting everyone else's life in danger. That's what we're asking you, to die like you should. You broke the constitutional rights of individuals that you found nothing on. You found nothing on me, and you're trying to make it stick with telepathy images and psychic images and mind technology images of all different kind of crazy stuff, right? And it didn't work. So now you're just spinning your wheels, messing up. Look, if you was American, you wouldn't be putting all these other Americans' lives in danger. That's all you're doing. People see clearly I'm a normal person. I know I'm a warrior. I'm a real warrior, but I'm a normal person living my life. I have a companion. I do normal stuff that people do. I mind my business. But you're not doing any of that, are you? So I'm not the problem. Everyone can clearly see I'm not the problem. It's you. And that's your desperate time. You call it. It's not a desperate time. It's a time of judgment. That's what time it is. A time of judgment from God, and you're fighting the feeling, right? It's time to die, and you're fighting the feeling, man. Just let it happen. Shh, 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 shh. Just let it happen. Because you ain't got nothing to live for anyway after this. What you gonna do after this? What are you gonna do after this? Worthwhile when you've broke constitutional rights and played all kind of weird pedophile entrapment operation games. What are you gonna do after this? And you think you're holding on to America, and you're not breaking constitutional rights. No, you're supposed to realize you've caused the problem here in America. That's what it is, and you have to bow out gracefully and die as a generation. Now you see what we're saying, and let it go on. Because in the end, listen, it was all you, wasn't it? In the end, it was all you, and we can't let one generation or a couple generations define this country. Listen, you're going to die one day anyway. And what you have done, you are leaving the repercussions. You are leaving to your children. You're messing up the whole future for all the children and the children to come, because you can't accept that it's your time to die when you're wrong. You see how far this went? So now we have to decide. Let these present generations live when there's been many generations of Americans, and there's nothing special about this generation of Americans. Let them live, or let them just be a dead couple generations. I think we should go with the latter. We should let a couple generations go ahead and die, instead of all the generations and all the credibility of the past, the good credibility of people like Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, all this that's been worked for, go down the drain because of a dumb couple generations of Americans. See, it's getting down to you. We're going to let this all go away because of these generations. They're not all of America. Now you see what I'm saying? And there's America to come. It should be, right? So we're going to let these present generations take all the honor of the past and redefine the future, because they want to live when they're supposed to be dead. That's where we at, man. That's where we are. They should not go on. And I know this is a hard conversation to have. But the Civil War was a hard conversation to have too. And it's no different than the Civil War now, is it? Look, it's the perfect example. In the time of the Civil War, it was a hard conversation. That these people that started these problems cannot define the future of this country. And we cannot let them take the honor of the past forefathers. They have to die. See, the last time this happened, actually, ironically, or coincidentally, me talking about it is coincidentally or ironic, wherever one you want to go with it. The last time this happened was the Civil War. The last time we had to decide that, these people got to die. The last time that happened in a massive way was the Civil War. An ex-military that served in the Vietnam War that I lived with told me back in 2018 that we're about to go into a civil war. See, I listen to military because they just have an overall understanding of different dynamics that a civilian couldn't possibly understand. And so a Vietnam veteran that I lived with and shared meals with and that respected me concluded that based off of everything that's going on here, that the Freemasons was doing, he let me know the Freemasons were doing some things. So this ex-military Vietnam veteran let me know that it's the Freemasons that's doing some things. See, I was already briefed by military about this. I know, I didn't tell you everything, did I? And he also let me know that we're on the brink of a civil war. And see, what defines a real, true spiritual war is, you realize it's not a matter of conflict like the Democrats and the Republicans. No. That goes on all the time. They'll probably go on to the end of time. A civil war is defined really in essence that it's a time where somebody has to die. And so these people out here who are goofy, playing with your community. Yeah, this is where America really is at. I know it's sad, but it adds up, don't it? This is where we really at. It's time for them to die. Okay? It's not time to argue. It's not to try. Look, it's not time to try to talk to anyone. They've broke constitutional rights. How can you consider them American? Oh, yeah. A real patriot would consider that. In fact, I guarantee you out there, it's some patriots that refuse to cooperate with what you're doing based on constitutional rights and rights of Americans. And also, if they're smart enough, seeing that all of this is putting other Americans in danger and the overall American community in danger. So here's another olive branch. Here's another olive branch. The only way you're going to preserve this country is to go to civil war with the gang stalkers and the secret societies and the Freemasons and all of them. That's what it has to be done. The Civil War has to be released against them so that you can be preserved. Because here's the punchline. Here's the punchline. God is on my side. So God will destroy as much as need to be destroyed. God will destroy as much as needed to be destroyed. And so what's your position, you may ask? I'm glad you asked. You know what your position is? You have to realize you're in a new civil war. That's what it is. No. It's not a normal situation. I know you try to think it is, but with God on my side, destroying you and putting your whole country in a place of possible destruction, how is it a normal situation? Being the main problem also is the Freemasons, is the secret societies and gang stalkers, and they proudly go around talking about this is a contest. This is a civil war. and I'm leading the good side. Now, this is your last olive branch before total destruction. Because there's no way in the world we can let losers lead and live and as if they're Americans and they're breaking constitutional rights, which defines us. God knows all of this. Even though I'm not conscious of it every second in time, God is aware of what he knows defines this country. And these people are not defining your country properly. Okay? I don't care about desperate times. That's their time to die. And they don't know no better. They don't know no better. And you have to let it happen. You have to let it happen. And so we got them right. We turned the light on right in time, didn't we? Talking about they Americans. You're American. Breaking constitutional rights, which defines us. And you see, let's just examine my situation. You see that I am actually more American minded than they are. Well, I'm not breaking anybody's constitutional rights. Let's get that first established. Ow, that's a 7. We can be men and women, or we can be boys and girls. If somebody is challenging me, I have the right to defend myself. In Florida, they made a law called the Stand Your Ground law. In Florida, they made a law called the Stand Your Ground law. Physically speaking, have I harmed anybody? Okay, so by most Floridians' perspective, I have the right to defend myself. I have the right to stand my ground and go to war with anybody who goes to war with me. That's a man's right. Especially here in America, me being black, more so, it's my right. Listen, you can say whatever you want. You prove nothing. So you don't have the right to define this situation as you're trying to find some monster in your community. Okay, you can only define it that way if you can define me that way. Can you define me that way? You haven't defined me that way properly to the community, have you? They don't see me as the monster when you got 43 states of child marriage. They don't define me no longer as any type of monster when you ran out here and had simultaneously had 43 states of child marriage. So let's just go back to the drawing board, if you will. Let's go back to the drawing board. Let's go back. Let's wipe it all away with the eraser, the chalkboard eraser, all the stuff they said. Let's even put some water, dip the chalkboard eraser in water and just clean and make it good and squeaky and fresh and clean and wet. Let's let it dry for about 15 minutes. All right, it's 15 minutes. Thing. They have nothing. That's the first thing I'm writing with the chalk. They have nothing. Put little lines under nothing. They have nothing. Let's also put under they have nothing 43 states of child marriage. Now you see where we are. You have nothing. You're still here, but have nothing. You have nothing. You have nothing. I have child marriage in 43 states on you. Now, am I breaking anybody's constitutional rights by releasing this information? Am I doing something non-American? Oh, I know you think you want to defend America at all costs, and you think that's how I should be. In fact, the American forefathers, the other thing that defined America. Let's talk about this. It's good. It's good, ain't it? It's good like good cake in the morning, ain't it? Good coffee cake in the morning, ain't it? What defines Americans also is the spirit and energy and vibration of separation. I'll let real Americans think about that for a minute. Let me get some water while you think about that. What defines us as American, what defines Americans, what defined the forefathers of America. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about it to these punks that think they know what American is. What defines Americans also is the spirit of separation, the vibration of separation, which some say if it was a color, it would be black. If the color of, if American separation was a color, it would be black. If the separation of America from the forefathers was a color, it would be black. You like that, don't you? If the separation of America was a color, it would be black. Uh-huh. They separated from England, right? For some say religious reasons and independence, ultimately independence from England. What am I doing any differently? I'm separating based on my religion, based on my spirituality, because your country has 50 states of gay marriage. Okay. So, and I am independent because of the evil that's in your country. Also, all the gang stalking, all the foolishness, I am independent of your country. This is the same energy. That's why I beat them, is when they talk about being American. This is the same energy repeated in history all over again. In other words, it's basically the American spirit going through a phoenix process. Going through all this fire and flying away, coming back up, emerging, flying away, based on, hear this part, the natural essence of the founding forefathers of Americans. I separated based on my spirituality. You got gay marriage in 50 states. You became something else. So you separated, the legend is you separated for religious reasons, right? That's the legend. You also separated for just independence, ultimately, in general, right? We can agree on that, right? That's exactly what I'm doing. It's happening again. It's the second separation of America. Hear this part. In order to survive. The Americans went away one time to survive, what? Spiritually, right? Based on, for their religion. So some would say they left England to spiritually survive as well. So you could say I'm separating from you to spiritually survive. You could say I'm separating from you for as far as for spiritual independence. Boom, Al, that's a 7. So what? So you think you're American? Okay, so what makes you American? You're not in the regulations. If we was playing basketball, you would be traveling, fouling, everything. You're not playing. You're not. Listen, I know you thought you listen to these young people talking about we don't play by no rules. We break all the rules. How that's gonna work for a seasoned American patriot though? Yeah, it's real cute when you hanging around the kids smoking loud. Ow. Yeah, it's real cute when you're around them 20 somethings and 30 somethings that you're trying to impress, smoking loud, talking about you're gonna do this, that, and the third. But then it's sobering on a Sunday morning when I tell you you're not American if you've been breaking the constitutional rights of Americans. That's what defines us. Now it's very sobering with your coffee cake, ain't it? It's very sobering while you're having your coffee with your coffee cake, ain't it? Yeah. And so this is what separates the men from the boys and the girls from the women. Because there's no way in the world you can play by your own set of rules and maintain the regulations of the forefathers, which is for this generation, the present generations, and the generations to come. What you're doing is lowering the whole standards that most people are going to feel no need to go back to if they don't want to. How you gonna hold them back from not going from state to not going back to the Constitution? How can you hold them back from not going back to it or its regulations? So you see where we at, which means that the Constitution basically would be invalid, which means we have to have a whole new set of rules. Hear this part, based on these crazy present day Americans. Can you imagine the rules they'll make? So now you see where we at, buddy. Where we're making the constitutional rights invalid, forcing us to make new rules for the whole country. Well, if you're breaking the laws, then you can't uphold them, can you? You can't enforce them or uphold what you're breaking. See, you should have known not to play with me. I'm in the kingdom of God. See, listen, you thought I was in the kingdom of America, didn't you? I'm schooling you more about your kingdom than you claim to know. That's for all the little 20-somethings that think they're Luke Skywalker riding around, driving around, sliding around. Listen, buddy, if you break constitutional rights, you got to call this something else, what you live in. And you got to call yourself something else. You can't call yourself American. I don't care what times you're going through. You have to examine and measure if it's your time to die. And you don't want to hear that, because if you look at it that way. Because if you really examined it and you got close, you think it's me, it's not me, it's you. Because I'm not breaking anybody's constitutional rights. If you really slow down, if you really slow down and listen, you can feel that it's your time to die. And so what you're doing is, like I said, you're breaking the constitutional rights of Americans, which is redefining this whole country as far as regulations and principles. They're paying attention. So they'll say, well, why can't we do the same thing? Y'all being hypocrites. I mean, you did it for your wars. You did it for what you wanted to do it for. I'm doing it for what I want to do it for. You can't think like a child. What will be stopping what will be stopping others from doing the same thing that you're doing in essence, breaking constitutional rights all around here, everywhere. What will stop others from doing that? How could you stop others? You would be a hypocrite. Do as I say, but don't. Oh, how's it go? Do as I say, but don't do as I do. Yeah, I finally got that. Do as I say, but don't do as I do. I always wanted to say that right. I guess that's there it is. Do as I say, but don't do as I do. That's basically what you're doing. See, I'm more cultured than you thought I was, am I? I know you thought I was a straight up savage and barbarian like man. Well, I can be at times. But now you see how cultured I am. I mean, if you just listen to my language, the cliches, the terms I use, you can tell. See, you're in trouble, buddy. See, unlike you local Americans, I've lived all over the country. That's the upper hand I have over you as Americans. Well, you don't go to war with somebody who knows America. Okay, you can go to war with some foreign guy, wherever he may be from, right? You don't go to war with somebody who knows you best. I know your weaknesses. I know your country. I know the geographics. I have maps of cities in my head. I'm just letting you know. I know about Pike Street down in Seattle. I can pretty much picture how it looks when the sun rises. Well, what time is it now? Well, it's about 7 o'clock. I can about picture, 6 o'clock. I can about picture how it looks. How Pike Street looks with all the, all that goes, how it looks and everything. The little carriage, little bike carriages, people riding the bikes, the little bike cabs, all over there by Pike Street, all over there by the road by Pike Street. Then I can go down to Los Angeles in my mind. As soon as you get off the Greyhound, you got the McDonald's right there at the corner. If you walk straight down, you could then bust a right about 10 blocks from the McDonald's on the same side of the street. Go 10 blocks down, make a right. Walk 2 blocks down, right in front of you is the food stamp office. And if you go back from the Greyhound and you go past that McDonald's, if you keep straight across the intersection, you go 2 blocks down, make a right, you start going into all of Skid Row, all over there by Pedro and all of that. Whoa. Downtown, you got the big LA library. You don't play with somebody like that. You go to Phoenix, you get off the Greyhound, you go down, you got the Carl restaurant, fast food restaurant, Carl's. You got the Family Dollar, the Plaza, all of that. You got the gas station, you make a right, there's a whole bunch of stuff there. I have maps in my mind, bro. You don't play with somebody like that. Dallas, the same thing. I know Dallas, you get off the Greyhound, you got the McDonald's right there in the vicinity. You got liquor stores right there around in that area. They had the McDonald's under construction for a long time in Dallas, right down the street from the Greyhound. I haven't lost my mind, buddy. Ow. And I definitely know Tampa, and I can go on and on and on and on and on. I can go on and on. No New York, don't live in New York, lived in Harlem. Go straight down Lenox, you bump right into the Central Park. From 125th. From 125th, you bust a left, you go all the way down, there's Central Park right there. That's 7th aisle. I used to run down there. Staten Island, you got to wait for the ferry. Everybody waits in a little area for the ferry. You come off if you're coming from Manhattan and coming to Staten Island, you get off the ferry, and then you have all the buses. You have all the buses waiting for you outside the center that brings you to Staten Island. The first main area that you get to in Staten Island, you got the Domino's and all that little area over there. And the library too. Boom. That's a little center point right there in Staten Island. Brooklyn, I know about Knickerbocker. You go down Knickerbocker, you got all those stores, McDonald's, Foot Lockers, everything. You got the big park in Knickerbocker. I know about it. Ow. I lived off of Atlantic. You got Fulton Street. Got the pizza there. You got the grocery store. You go down. You got another big grocery store, and then just how you know I know that area. Right there in Marcy and Fulton, it used to be a Burger King. Ow. Now it's a TD Bank there. I can sit and think about your whole country like the back of my hand. That's what I'm proving. That's what I'm proving to you. And so you can imagine that someone that's been through Seattle, Brooklyn and Harlem and Tampa has a sense of knowing really your country. You don't play with somebody like that, bro. You don't play with somebody like that. And if I haven't lived there, I've seen it. I've been through Vegas. I know about what they used to call the Experience. I know about the Experience right down the street from the Greyhound. The Experience is the equivalent of 2 blocks in Vegas. And when you go to the Experience, first when you walk in from the Greyhound, you got the stages, and they're doing rock classics. They're doing all rock classics. Am I right or wrong? It's called the Experience. They got more than one rock stage, and they got the monitors where you can see the artist performing. And it's the equivalent of about 1.5 blocks, how big this space is. About 2 blocks. Let's say 2 blocks, according to New York standard, about 2 blocks. And you can walk around drinking. Yeah. In Vegas, you can walk around drinking. I've been to Nashville, the big AT&T building. I've been to Chicago, the 2 stadiums side by side. Everybody been to Chicago. All Chicago natives know the 2 stadiums are side by side. Been in New Orleans, the big Mercedes Stadium. I done been down to New Orleans, the big Mercedes Stadium. Everybody in New Orleans, all the people there know what I'm talking about. The Mercedes Stadium with the big Mercedes symbol on it, the big Mercedes emblem on the top of it. Yeah. You don't play with people like that. Because these people here in New York are local New Yorkers. And unfortunately, let me tell you something. You may come out with the latest fashion. You may come out with the latest music. But you don't have it all, buddy. When it comes to this spiritual warfare and this real warfare, you New Yorkers don't have it all, buddy. That's what I'm trying to show you. Yeah, you got the latest fashion. You might have the latest gadgets even. Because people are trying to make money. The merchants are trying to make money. That's what it really is. That's 7 Owl. It ain't that you so special. They're trying to make money. Yeah, that's really what it is. Okay, you don't have it all, buddy. You can't beat a nationwide man. You can't. A local New Yorker cannot be a nationwide American. It can't happen. You ask anybody. So basically what that is comparing, it's like a basketball game between the New York Knicks in the NBA All-Stars. It's no way you're gonna win. So you telling me the New York Knicks, I'm talking about what they roster as it is, they can be the NBA All-Star lineup. They can be the first string of NBA All-Stars. That's the equivalent. That's what you're doing when you fight against me. You fighting against the All-Star, buddy. I got different fighting styles. I got California fighting style. I got down south fighting style. What you thought you was? Come on, man. You can't beat all that, man. You got one fighting style, man. And I know that one. I've told you I lived here in Brooklyn. I told you I lived here in Harlem. I lived in Staten Island. So I got your fighting style, and I got all different types of multiple other fighting styles. That's why you're not winning, bro. That's why you're not winning. Yeah, I know you're in distress. You a damsel in distress. Ow. You damsels in distress? Yeah, you're arrogant. You know, you got these other people all around the country thinking you're the best and the greatest. You're only the best and greatest at fashion. In rock stars and movie stars and all of that kind of stuff. Basically, the things that stimulate the economy, merchant stuff, merchandise. You're the best at merchandise, okay? New York City is the best at merchandise. Let's keep it in that lane. When it comes to bona fide soldiers, you got cowboys all around down and everywhere in Texas and everywhere else. Man, come on. A New Yorker can beat all of that. A New Yorker can beat all of that. Man, listen, you gassed yourself. I'm talking about real war, man. I ain't talking about no little shootouts. I'm talking about real wars. You think these local New Yorkers, full of arrogance and full of New York pizza, you think you can defeat a nationwide person? Go check my Social Security. I had apartments in Florida. I have apartments in Florida. I have a driver license in Florida. The last job I worked was in Seattle. Let's talk about the numbers. The last job I worked on the books was Seattle. What that says about me, bro? I was working over in Seattle. So I'm glad I said all this because it goes good into my message. So you see how American I am. That's a 7 owl. In my first major city I went to was Detroit. Let us not forget Detroit. Yeah, that's the first major city I went to. I got it covered, bro. Man, if it's worth something, I've been there. I've either passed through there, been there, or I lived in these other places that you emulate and so love. I've passed through Miami. So that's far as south as I've been, Miami. You don't get no further south than that. That's a 7 owl. So I didn't hang out there, but I passed through there. My soul passed through there. All of it adds up, bro, to being more American than you. Okay? And this is why you lose. New York, it's all about fashion and merchandise. That's all it is that makes you so big, if you will. But when it comes down to real war, you can't win, bro. You can't win against somebody who is the equivalent of a Olympic team. I'm an Olympic team. I got different styles. You feel me? I done lived in Los Angeles. Been on food stamps out there in Los Angeles. I done got among the locals and know how it feels and how they think. That's all I need. That's all I need. I don't need to live in Los Angeles a million years. All I have to do to get the juice from Los Angeles is get around the people and get their mentality and their fighting style and intermingle, hear this part, with their vibration, and you got the juice, buddy. I don't have to live in Los Angeles 5-10 years and live in Watts and Long Beach and live in Inglewood and Compton. I don't have to do all that. And I still got the juice from all these different places, and that's why you're in trouble. That's why you're in trouble, bro. And ain't no New Yorker can boast of being greater than all those places. You can't be. Now, did I live in all those places I named? I did not. But I am conscious of the fact that, you know, I either lived in those places, I passed through those places, and all of it adds up. I don't have to be fraudulent. When I tell you I lived in Los Angeles, New York, already, Florida, North Carolina, that's where I'm from, and I passed through all these other places. All of that put together is enough to defeat any New York energy and spirit. You can't beat it, bro. It's all in your arrogance. It's all arrogance. That's all it is. And I'm crushing through that. Okay? Like I said, if I haven't lived there, I've been through there. And that speaks for something. Hey, some people pass through places and don't make it. I've passed through Vegas. I hung out there. Walked around there. Some people pass through Vegas and don't leave. They get challenged. They face strangers and they lose. That's what I mean with passing through and what it means. Some people pass through New York and don't make it. Some people pass through Los Angeles, but surely pass through Los Angeles and do not make it out. They don't make it back. So I've passed through Los Angeles. I lived there. I lived in Los Angeles. Okay? I've gotten respect from East LA Mexicans in Los Angeles. That's for the Mexican community. That's for you. That's a 7 Al. That's for you East Coast Mexicans. That's for you. That's a 7 Al. In your case, it's a siete Al. That's a siete Al. That's a siete Al. So, and I passed through everywhere else. I passed through all these places. I either lived there, I either seen them, or I lived there. All of that adds up to being, quite frankly, more American than you. Because if I pass through them, then I can map it in my mind and I can know what is what. You feel me? So that's still, you feel me? So, you think New York can hold up against all of that? Having already lived here in New York, already lived here in Los Angeles, lived in Seattle too. Totally West Coast. That's totally West Coast. You don't live in California and Seattle? That's West Coast. That's bona fide West Coast. Okay, if you live in California, okay, you are West Coast. But you're more West Coast if you live in California and Seattle, Washington. You're definitely West Coast. Okay? Everybody knows that. I lived in both of those places long enough to be as the people among the people. Not just a little birthday trip. Getting food stamps in all those places. Got food stamps in Seattle. Got food stamps in Los Angeles. Okay, so I was there long enough to get that done. That's all you need to know. I ain't just pull up and get food stamps. And that's what you, listen, man, you can't beat that, bro. You can't beat it. It's all in your arrogance. I had to say that to let you know all the places I've lived. And then, like I said, if I haven't lived there, I've been through it. Detroit, I've been through Detroit. I've been through St. Louis. I've been through Chicago. All the places you scared of. I've been through Memphis, Dallas, Houston. I've been to Houston more than one time. I've been through Houston more than one time. All them places in Houston, when you go in the Greyhound, I can tell you perfectly, off the cuff. It's all in my head. In Houston, when you go to the Greyhound, there's a smoking section that's sectioned off from the whole, it's still part of the building, but it's a little section area where you go out and smoke. That's Houston Greyhound, right or wrong. You come out the doors, you go out the doors, and there's a whole caged in smoking section. It's all barred in, it's caged in. When you go to Phoenix, the Greyhound, the smoking section is caged in too. And it's more narrow in horizontal. You don't play with somebody like that, bro. That's what I'm saying. And I keep it 100 about the experiences. I don't fabricate it. I went through it and I told you. I either lived there or I went through it. And it all means something. To someone who knows better, they know that all means something, because you go in there and you're up against, you're around those vibrations as you're going through. That all adds up, bro. Of somebody you shouldn't be playing with. And ain't no New Yorker can handle all of that, bro. And that explains why you in the position you in. You got these spiritual occurrences that's happening in your community, because New York think they better than everybody. And we're going to and by the time this is said and done, we're going to shut down all that perspective. All that arrogant New York strong perspective that is way out of pocket. We're going to shut all that down. The kingdom of God is going to do it. That's who's going to do it. Okay? The kingdom of God is going to do it. Okay? Because if we be 100, New York ain't been nothing since the 90s. Ow. Oh, whoa. New York ain't been nothing since the 90s. That's why they're going crazy. New York ain't been nothing since the mid to late 90s. After 2000, and no disrespect, but after 9/11, it was nothing after that. It got spooky. Everybody got scary, and people left. It was I'm pretty sure it was a huge exodus after 9/11. Okay, so New York come on, man. It's not what it used to be, man. That's why you need to check yourself. Check yourself, bro. Check yourself. Check yourself. That's all I'm saying. Because the kingdom of God is not going to be challenged by no New York City. You talking about the kingdom of God. Man, we'll sit you down quick, bro. Can't be serious. We're going to stop. We're going to shut all that arrogance down, bro. We're going to shut it all down. Okay? Yeah, that's important. This is important for this video so you can know how American I am, on top of acknowledging what really defines us as American. Beyond the geographics. The Constitution. The Constitution defines us as Americans, which you have broken, which these New Yorkers have broken. You New Yorkers cannot no longer really, as a collectively speaking, consider yourself American. I don't know what you call yourself. I call you strange Americans. Strange America. You're no longer just America. I could give you a whole nother name, basically. But you can't break the constitutional rights of American, bro. You can't break the constitutional rights of American talking about you American. Nah, that's what defines us. And you should uphold that. If you was really American, a patriot of America, you would have to uphold that. Right? for your own definition as an American. And this hasn't been addressed quite like how I have addressed it. Because there's Americans that think, especially after 9/11, they think they can put people under illegal surveillance, finding nothing, knowing nothing, they doing nothing, and still call themselves Americans in the name of catching terrorists. Nah, bro. Nah. If you ain't got no crime, you have to kick rocks, bro. That's 100. If you don't got no crime or no physical operations of evil intent, you have to kick rocks. You have to go play in traffic, as I say. You have to go play in traffic. So I stripped you of you thinking that you're American. You ain't American. Most people would say I'm more American than you are. Well, you broke constitutional rights. I haven't.